What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 29 of PlayStation Fix. My name is Will Robinson. Joining me this week, we got everybody, and all of us are going to be at E3 this year. So our topic this week is going to be E3 predictions. And if you don't know who everybody is, we got senior editors Adam Byrne.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Very good.
And we got Kyle Prahl.
It does feel like it was just yesterday, seriously, that we were there. I cannot believe a year has passed.
Right? Yeah, I know what you mean. And then we got Ernest Lin.
Feel the E3 hype through your veins, everybody.
Thanks,
no.
Peter Moore.
Yep.
Yeah, so all four of us were covering E3 last year together. And we're going to do it again this year, all at the show floor. And we got... part of it, we're going to draw on some of our expertise from the past couple years of covering the show and try to come up with some good predictions for you all and how the show's going to turn out. So I guess we'll just go off in a random order between us, but we're going to go one by one in our kind of 4 to 5 prediction range that we got, and we're going to hash it out and see how likely we think any of these are as a whole. So Ernest, you got to boogie off potentially before the podcast is done, so I think we're going to have you go first.
Okay, so
Hit me, man. Give me your best.
So you can
Your best
start
stuff.
however you want. Yeah.
Shut up.
the first one that I had listed is that the new PlayStation 4, the PS4.5 or PS4K, codename Neo, will be unveiled.
Will be unveiled.
Will be unveiled officially. You know, since it's
Okay.
already been
Will it
thoroughly
be just
leaked.
like a name drop, or will it actually be hardware unveil?
Getting into specifics here.
Yeah.
I think so. I think possibly show the hardware.
It sounds like it's going to be the same design from how they've been pitching it thus far, so I don't
Right,
think it'd
and
be that crazy.
the PlayStation 4 is already pretty compact, so I estimate it to probably be around the same size.
What do you think the context around the announcement will be like? Do you think they're going to give it a lot of gravity as like the next PlayStation release, or is it going to be more of a, hey, it's 4.5K coming October, and then they move on to the next game?
It's here if you want it.
Yeah,
We're just
yeah,
gonna
right.
move on.
See,
I think it's actually going to be like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
right. I've been thinking about how they would approach it, and I think it'd be a little better if they did it, sooner into the show, like at the start or mid range rather than the end, because I figured if they did show it, then they'd also maybe showcase how some of the games will look in the Neo mode.
Right.
And
Yeah, I think it'd be
stuff
towards the
like that,
middle
you
of the
know?
show, too. I think that's where they would give it like the
Right.
VR treatment they did last year.
Mhm.
Anyway, well, we'll keep moving on because I'm sure that we have a lot of
Right.
cross-pollination with our things going on here. So what's your second one?
My second one is an Elder Scrolls 6 teaser.
Ooh,
As the
I like
Bethesda.
that.
Very nice,
Even if it's just a nice presentation, just a nice fade in of the logo and some narration and the theme song,
Jeez, imagine if it was
that
another
would be
Fallout.
fast.
Imagine another like a Fallout announcement that's coming out November this year.
Oh my god, can you even imagine that?
Fallout 4.5. Take that, Sony.
I feel like that really did work out well for them, though, having
Oh my
such a
God,
truncated
yeah.
development cycle. Because that's so refreshing in modern video games that I feel like hype was just, oh my god, yes, we're allowed to be excited about this because it's only 6 months out.
Yeah, we're not being told to be excited about it after a year and a half.
Right.
Do you guys remember how
please be
it's
keep that
excited.
momentum going and not,
Mhm.
not have everyone get too jaded and over analyze everything in that amount of time. So.
Do you think that'll be like the Skyrim announcement where they bring out like a crowd of chanting monks and then the logo fades up from black behind them?
Are we not past
Yeah,
that?
something similar, just a little teaser. I'm sure it's at least a few years away.
The guys in Khajiit costumes because it's set in the Khajiit homeland.
Jesus.
All right, what's number 3?
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, I like that.
There's been
Yeah.
so much buzz about it, and they are working on some sort of projects, and it'd be foolish not to do another Red Dead.
Didn't Rockstar say that like Red Dead was like just hellish to make? I thought there was an article like a week or two ago.
Right,
that
it was
said
in
something like that.
the recent lawsuit they had between
Yeah. Which
Can't
is like
remember
why
exactly.
that they just haven't said anything about a second one for years. So it's just because it was such a pain in the ass to do.
Right, right. I
But
mean, part of that was I think the lead guys weren't quite great at
Mhm.
project management, so they needed.
Oh,
I think
sure.
it's the fella, I can't remember his name, who was the one suing, to step in and really like
Mhm.
get the project back on
Was that
track. And
was
get it.
that Leslie Benzies?
Yes,
the guy
Benz.
suing?
Mhm.
Get the Benz. Yes. Yes. Yep.
All right, well, BRB changing my number 2 prediction now.
Mhm.
Luckily, I had a couple backups.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think that's a pretty solid one. What's cool about that announcement, and really whatever way Rockstar goes with its next game, is that when GTA 5 was first announced, they had this vision for what GTA Online would be, like this shared world with the heists and this constantly developing content. And I feel like it took them a couple years to really realize that vision. Like it wasn't until the PS4 remaster came out that online really had stability nailed down and its regular rollout of content and live
PlayStation
streams.
Network worked.
Yeah, that was part of it.
Yeah, and in that lawsuit, I think it was Leslie who had to convince Sam Houser to even go down the online route because he wasn't convinced by it. And now it's made what, $500 million? I think they could
Sold 64 million copies or something now as a
Oh,
whole.
Yeah. And I mean, it just keeps that game alive.
they could just do a Valve and just not release any more games and just keep that train going.
Yeah.
So like the thought
There's
of
no market imperative really anymore.
Red Dead launching with a really robust online mode though, like GTA 5, and in fact even incorporating like the lessons they've learned so that it's stable and fully featured on day one, like that's really, really exciting to me because I'm curious how they would apply that to the Old West. And it'd be like, would you have homesteads and
You get a
ranches
horse carriage
customized?
garage.
Oh wow.
Right, yeah,
stables.
basically.
Yeah.
So anyway, interesting thought, but yeah, I think that's a pretty solid prediction.
Yeah, I wonder what
Yeah.
you would do in place of like bank heists. I guess you can still do bank heists. It'd just be, it'd just be like old timey banks. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be using your horse to pull the bars off some vault on the inside.
That'd be pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah, I do that.
Awesome. All right, number 4 for you, Ernest.
Number 4 is either the Last Guardian and/or Horizon Zero Dawn delayed. I feel like one of those is gonna get delayed.
Horizon
One
or
or both?
Last of Us, huh? Well, Horizon
Last
got
Guardian.
The Last Guardian, Last of Us, slip of the tongue.
It's real and it's delayed.
Isn't yeah, it's real. And we don't have to tell you about it yet, but just so you know, it's happening and it's not coming out for a long time. So
Yeah, whatever date we tell you first, it will not be the date.
Don't believe us.
but didn't they had well, obviously these don't mean anything, but there was a statement recent, like there was the rumor that Horizon was going to be delayed, but then there was also a confirmation of some kind that it wasn't, that it was still expected this year. Recently,
I think
I'm trying to
yeah,
remember.
Shuhei Yoshida kind of.
That was he was the one who said like, no, it's happening this year, but
But that could still change.
I mean, I'd
feel
say
like
at most
Right.
places
I mean,
I would
game
take
development is so much. There's just
Yeah.
so many things that can arise. You know, it's
Well,
much
there's,
different.
There's a
than,
lot
say,
of things
like
that can
film
happen, but I think
releases.
most people, when they say that, I would take with a grain of salt. But Shuhei's usually been really good at either just not hinting at anything or not saying any specifics on anything if there's uncertainty or if it is being delayed. He's never come out
made
and
of
said
stone.
he's never said this is not or this is coming out, and then there's a big announcement like secretly that it's not coming out.
Yeah, I
So-
feel like of the two games, The Last Guardian is more likely to be delayed just because of that troubled development history. But that's got me kind of thinking now about the status of that game, and I'm like, I really hope that there's something to that game that is new for Team Eco, because if it's just like, and this is what it looked like last year when they showed it, if it's just like Shadow of the Colossus controls meets Eco guiding this bird through the structure, ambiguous
Right.
storytelling, it's like, just by looking at that 10-minute video, I'm like, I've seen this exact game before, and I'm a little worried that there isn't anything new or surprising going on.
Yeah, I was just excited to see it.
Right, it was a surprise.
I wasn't really. I'm not really excited to play it after
Yeah.
all the hype has died a little bit, but I don't know. We'll know more about that. You got a wacky one or any other predictions?
Yeah, I got a wacky one.
You sound ashamed of yourself.
Half-Life 3.
Half-Life
No.
3. Oh, okay.
We can wish.
Get out.
That's
You're
not
done.
wacky. That's just sad, Ernest.
a
He's
console
an
of all
old
places
man
as well.
clinging to a dream.
Yeah, right.
Half-Life.
We got spoiled last year. You got Shenmue and you got Final Fantasy VII and The Last Guardian. I mean, it's kind of
Right.
expected this year, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yep.
All
Yeah, I
right.
just don't see it happening because there isn't is there a PC conference like there was last year where they only
There
talked
is.
PC Gamer, yeah, there's one.
I
It's
don't know,
incredibly
Valve.
tech heavy though, so I don't know if they'll
Okay.
be announcing games
Well,
and
that's
stuff.
true. They've got new graphics cards to talk about. Yeah, Valve is just they moved to the beat of their own drum. I don't even think E3 is a
Yeah, they don't care about the industry.
Like,
really.
they don't. They
No.
are.
When you're making that much money,
Right. Like they are
Image-
they're their own industry. They're their separate
Exactly.
industry. They don't
Yes.
yeah, Steam is just its own beast.
care. Mhm.
Mhm.
All right. Adam, Kyle, which one of you wants to go?
You do. You.
hmm?
Are you ready?
Me? You or me? Who?
Adam,
for it.
what are your
All right.
predictions?
Okay, I'm
Alright.
in. Okay, first one is Resident Evil 7, which, as we've seen reports, but I think it will be a reboot. So, obviously, it's the 20th anniversary of Resident Evil, and we've been told that there's going to be a full-scale offensive of the series. We've had the success of Resident Evil 1 remastered, Resident Evil 0, they're remaking Resident Evil 2, they're bringing out Resident Evil Umbrella Corps next month. So, and the fact that Resident Evil 6, I think, came out in October of 2012. So we have nearly 4 years. I think it's time. I think they recognize that there is a lot of hatred for Resident Evil 6 and 5 to a certain degree. So I think it will go back to its horror roots, as has been rumored. So I think that will be announced, and I think it will release probably maybe the start of next year, maybe a February release.
So you kind of touched on it with like mentioning that it's going to go back to its horror roots. But other than that, what do you think the game looks like? Like, is it going to be called Resident Evil 7, or is it a series reboot? Or
I don't think it will be numbered, but I'm not sure if it would have like a subtitle or anything. I think they'll either revert back to like very basic core characters that like kind of maybe like Chris and Jill from like the original, but they won't have any of the baggage, and like there's like at the moment now there's like 10 organizations in the game. There's all these weird hands in every like pie. It's convoluted as shit. So I think it'll either be completely new characters or they'll just kind of blank slate the characters that they do have now. But apparently they also Capcom also hired one of the lead designers of MGS5 and PT, so that's an interesting route to go down.
oh yeah, certainly with the PT thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
that did horror so well just by the lack of things happening, and the way it built tension.
I know. I remember
So, yeah,
seeing
no, I-
Facebook posts of a couple different friends that I had that said that they like tried playing PT like 5 times and they couldn't finish it at
That
all.
was me.
Wow.
Yeah,
That was me.
Yeah, that
like
was
they
me.
just kept trying and they kept trying and they're just like, nope, can't do it.
I just couldn't get the ending to unlock. It was so annoying. I just running around in a circle for about 20 minutes. But yeah, so I think that's happening. So I think that'll be announced. Even though it does like obviously Capcom have a lot of internal teams, but like even just from Resident Evil as a series, that's a lot of games. Like even like 2 should be a pretty big undertaking, I would imagine. But and it'd be interesting because obviously that game I think will definitely release after this potential reboot. So it's going to be interesting to see how Resident Evil 7, if it is announced, how that informs what we can expect the design to be from the Resident Evil 2 remake. So yeah, so that's the first one. So I think that will be announced. Here's one. I think I'll come in slightly left of field, and it's on the back of a trademarking a patent thing by Sony. G-Police in VR.
Ooh. Okay, so you might have to fill in my knowledge here a little bit. What type of game was the original G-Police?
Okay, well, G-Police was kind of like it's like an on-rail shooter, sort of. You're in like a kind of a police helicopter type of thing in the future, and like you're kind of shooting down at like cars and like, bad guys pretty much on the ground.
So the fact that it's an on-rails fire, I mean, that makes it a really natural fit, so...
Yeah, like it's sort of like that. And like it's very science fictiony. It's kind of inspired by Blade Runner and stuff. So like you're piloting like an aircraft, and you you can go through first and third person perspectives with it, with views within the like cockpit and stuff, and there's like different perspectives for like when you're chasing enemies and stuff, and like dropping bombs and all on them. So I think it will definitely, it has that kind of enclosed space that would work well with VR. Plus, it's got at least a little bit of brand recognition. You know, like a lot of people do remember it and like do remember it fondly. And it's obviously one of like Psygnosis's games, which like they made about 500 PS1 games in some way or another between developing and publishing. But yeah, like you can drop bombs and stuff, and there's bomb defusal and all this. So I think it fits nicely, and I think it's going to be a concerted effort by Sony to at least have, when they're going on their full-scale offensive with VR, there's going to be a certain section of their development that they probably will have for the likes of G-Police and other kind of maybe series they want to revisit to try and kind of amp up the anticipation for VR when they're pushing it. So that's definitely one. That's another one. So okay, that's number 2. Let me think now. What's the rest? I also have Red Dead Redemption 2 and God of War 4 and stuff. You know, we
haven't talked about God of War 4 at all yet. So
all right, well, fair enough then. God of War 4. So I think this is probably the most nailed on out of everything we're going to talk about today in terms of game reveals. We've seen a lot of images leak that it's set in the Viking era, and we've also had like numerous industry insiders and just industry figures kind of confirming that they have known about this game for years.
Yeah, like the images have been circling internally for a while. It sounds like so.
Are we expecting this game to star Kratos, even though it's set in Norse mythology?
It specifically shows like Kratos in the concept art.
Yeah,
it shows him in the concept art.
So is that going to be do you think it would be like a reimagining? Like here's Kratos in a different mythological setting?
He's still got the pale skin from all the ash of his wife and child, so it sounds like, from what they're showing, unless they're just like stand-ins.
I don't know why,
but
it doesn't make sense why it would be if it wouldn't just do a generic kind of figure. But
I genuinely think he is the worst character of any first-party game that Sony has put out in probably 20 years.
He's not the worst. Boring. He's definitely the shallowest, but he's just pure anger is his own.
I get nothing from him. I think you can do anger in a pretty interesting way, but geez, this is coming from a guy that played God of War at a kiosk and never knew it was coming out back in like 2004 or something, and then it came out in 2005, I think, wasn't it? And I was blown away, and it's one of the only games I've ever really pre-ordered. I played that demo at a kiosk at a game store, and I pre-ordered it that day. So I have a lot of fun. That's for the first one. But Jesus,
did you play the other ones?
I played 2, but I did not finish it because at that time the PS3 was out.
Well, then you'd have to play 3, because 3 does actually give him a tiny bit more depth as a character with interactions with Calliope. Which is,
I hear Ascension is the best one. You should probably jump to that.
I
haven't played Ascension at all yet. I have it on my PS4, I think, as a PS3 because it was a Plus game.
Yeah.
Same.
But I haven't played that at all. But yeah, I mean, he's got a little bit more depth than that. But basically, he's not the focus of the games. Obviously, he's just like he's the mascot of the games. But he's
of course,
yeah. So I mean,
the player projects his own anger with Kratos.
I get people getting upset about him being not a deep character, but I mean, like, come on, it's like that's not what that's not what the games are about.
I just think it's a bit long in the tooth when it's like probably the 6th or 7th iteration. I just think it's a bit stale by this stage.
Yeah, at that point, it kind of makes me hope that this is a reimagining of him, because if they use him and he's got a lot of shared like physical characteristics like the ashen skin, but then say, okay, now he is somebody of importance in Norse mythology, and maybe he's actually a mortal with superhuman powers, but he has a similar backstory with like the wife and child. Well, that's maybe an opportunity to introduce some characterization.
Even if if it was actually Kratos after. See, that's the thing at the end of the third one. Minor spoilers if you haven't played it already. Like the whole world is like coming to an end because all of the gods who are in control of the different elements have been like killed. So like the world is like flooding and tornadoes and all this stuff, and then like he falls out, it looks like he's dead, and then the camera pans back, and then it's basically like a little bit of a blood trail leading to the edge of a cliff, and he's gone. So it really could be him. I think that would be really awesome if it was still him, and he basically went, and the Norse gods were still part of that same universe, or he did die and now he's in Valhalla for whatever reason, and now he's there. and he said now he has no motivation for his rage or anger for his wife and daughter because he killed everyone on there. He's going to be just completely empty inside because he got his revenge, but he didn't accomplish anything except just killing everyone. So I think that would be an interesting dynamic where now you can really build him up as a character from this point going forward with his
Does
interactions
Norse
that he has.
mythology have any overlap in terms of timing with Greek mythology? If I was just going off the cuff, I would say that it feels to me like it would come significantly later in, like, mythological history, but
Oh,
I
and
don't know if you guys knew.
I would think it would be like earlier if at the,
Oh, really?
or at the same time. Yeah, I mean, well, it'd be
I don't know,
like
I mean, it's mythology, so I don't even know if there is a time period, but
well, I mean, there's
Yeah,
definitely a
hard
time
pass
period
through.
for yeah. I mean, it would be. I think it'd be around the same time. I mean, it's. I should know this. I think I did at one point, but anyway, I don't want to keep talking in circles about that. But yeah, I mean, they could easily merge them in the same universe, give some kind of
yeah,
reasoning
all bets
for it.
are off, really.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really whatever they do. Anyway, we spend a lot of time on.
Yeah.
Kratos,
Okay, last one. Now, this one is going to be two-part in the sense that it's two different games, but I think it's under the same sort of blanket. So, obviously, we had Bethesda's conference last year on the Sunday, and they obviously showed Fallout and then released it 6 months later and stuff. And then I think a few of us were slightly surprised that they were doing the same this year because Fallout's out, and then
Well, they said
Yeah,
it was going to
with
be.
that-
They
was it-
actually said it was just going to be a one-time thing. Last
Yeah, and the
year.
fact
like
that,
they
like-
didn't say they were going to do another one initially.
yeah, because we were kind of wondering, okay, well, Elder Scrolls is probably too early for that. You know, what else have they got? So, two-parter from me. I think they will announce the Evil Within 2 and Prey 2 will come back. So, first
Well,
one.
they said that Arcane is doing, Prey 2.
have
Was
they
that
confirmed
rumored,
it?
though?
Yeah, I thought they.
No, I
They
think
said that.
Jason Schreier said it on Kotaku, but I don't think it was actually confirmed
Oh,
yet.
maybe not.
But they're saying Arcane Studios is doing it, but I think also they're still kind of wrapping up on Dishonored 2. Unless
Yeah.
there's two Arcanes.
Well, I mean,
don't know.
actually, it's on their. Was it on their Wikipedia page even? I can't remember if I looked on there and it saw. But I mean, they were in charge.
Wikipedia says it
Arcane
is.
took over for as a Human Head that was doing Prey 2 at the time.
Yeah.
And then that went to kind of bad things, and now it sounds like it's pretty sure that they're going to be revamping it now.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that would be really awesome if they did, because I thought the trailer for Prey 2 back in like 2011 was kick ass.
Yeah, that's like an infamously good. Like everybody loves that trailer. So that's that, and then Evil Within. I think it would be Tango's second game, which I would be really looking forward to. People don't really realize it, but Evil Within sold, I think, over 3 million copies, which is great for a new IP.
Yeah, that's
Brilliant
substantial.
even. It could even be nearly 4 million at this stage. So, and I think it's like the fastest selling new horror IP ever and stuff. So it had a lot of issues. Like, I was anticipating this game more than anything because I love Shinji Mikami, I love Resident Evil, so I was looking forward to this. It was really good. It had a lot of issues, particularly technically. It was, and the gameplay was a bit clunky, but it ran pretty poorly. So I'm hoping we get that kind of classic, that classic iteration, kind of like, you know, Assassin's Creed to Assassin's Creed 2, where they just hone everything and everything's just more streamlined and it works better and blah blah blah. So I think the
Adam,
sales
which-
have definitely warranted it.
Which would you be more excited to play, The Evil Within 2 or Resident Evil 7?
Oh, it has to still be Resident Evil because I have such an affinity for that whole series, but I do recognize kind of how much Mikami has done for that series, so I'll follow him around too. But yeah, so I think that's I think the sales warranted if it's near 4 million, and Tango haven't done anything since, and I think it's been a year and a half since the first one, so I think a confirmation of the second could be a pretty decent bet.
Okay.
I wonder what Prey 2 is even going to look like at this point, you know what I mean? Because the original was it was a first-person shooter that people kind of liked, but it was really embedded in, like, the PC culture of, like, 2004, 2005, when people were playing, like, Doom 3 and stuff. So,
That's what I
I'd be
would
curious,
want.
because the trailer really gave off Mass Effect vibes.
Well, the trailer, it did that. Well, for me, I saw Star Wars Bounty Hunter, like the best version of Star Wars Bounty Hunter in the original, the trailer that came out years ago. So,
Sure,
like,
yeah.
I would love to see that where it's just like it is third-person action RPG type of thing, where it's just like you're going through these like immersive sci-fi cities and with different races and all that stuff running around. I think that would be really awesome.
Like Mass Effect meets Hitman.
Yeah, but then having all like the mechanics of like the different thing. This is my favorite thing about Star Wars Bounty Hunter was just like the rope tie up and like all the different things you could swap through with is like the flamethrower and the jetpack and the poison darts and all like. So if they have that kind of variety of an arsenal on your character when you're running through as a bounty hunter, I think that'd be really awesome. Yeah, you got a wacky one?
I don't think I have a wacky one, to be honest. Yeah, there's nothing else I really have. Wacky.
What would you want to have announced? Like
Gex reboot.
Gex reboot.
God damn it!
I like the zero hesitation on that.
There's my wacky one.
All right.
Gex baby.
That's Naughty Dog's next game. Bruce Straley took the IP and off Square Enix and is now going back.
Can you
to
even imagine
Naughty
instead of
Dog.
like The Last of Us 2 or going back to Jack and Daxter, Naughty Dog reverts even further with a Gex reboot?
Vert? Excuse me.
River. All right, Kyle, what you got?
Yeah. Okay, my first one is a contradiction to one of Ernest's. I went the other way with PS4K, and I said PS4.5, PS4K will not be announced.
And I agree with that.
I mean, there are like a number of rumors and reports to support. You know, there's one that says it's going to be at Tokyo Game Show, another one that says it's going to be October at Paris Games Week. So
that's where my mind is at. I think with E3, there's a little too much negativity swarming around this rumor right now, and so I think Sony would be really smart, but it's even like it's an obvious thing to do is like don't announce it here, leave room for games, and then have this be the sort of on-brand coming out party of PSVR, which it really seems like this is it, right? We know PSVR is coming out in October, so it makes sense why we hadn't really had a big bombastic coming out party yet. I think E3 is that thing, and to dilute that with, by the way, there's PS4.5K. I don't think there's time in the show, and nor do I think Sony will want to distract from the strength of VR yet. So I think 4 will probably be.
I suppose, but I feel like a big push for the PS4K is.
Yeah, I got a comment on
VR.
that too, but I'm going to save that for when I go through mine. So
Yeah, I'll just say quick. I guess it seems that PS4.5 is kind of born out of the facts of how much money they can save from actually somehow making it more powerful. So, I don't think it's as big a deal as people think it is, and I don't think Sony will put much kind of stock into talking about it because of the negative connotations surrounding it. So, yeah, I don't think it'll be at E3 either.
all right,
I think there's a lot. So my next prediction, kind of going off of the strength of VR and how I feel like it's going to be the big moment for it, is I have a idea of a PSVR launch title, and that is Wipeout VR. I think Sony will bring back the Wipeout franchise.
Yes.
people
because
throwing
they-
up everywhere.
Because because they own the IP. I mean, studio Sony Liverpool closed a few years ago. So that's neither here nor there. But the IP still exists, and they've got teams that could be working on Wipeout. And I just think it's a fixed position, it's a fixed seat, much like Eve Valkyrie. And I think the future, the kind of the cybernetics, the futuristic displays that have always made the Wipeout universe kind of pretty and interesting to look at, like those holographic heads-up displays and billboards and stuff. It's just going to make for a really cool-looking VR environment, I think. So that just seems like a really obvious virtual reality title. So I think they'll announce that.
Okay.
Persona 5 receives a Western release date.
I figured, yeah.
And
I was kind of
It's at the tail end of 2016. So I don't think it'll launch hand in hand with
So
September.
going all the way from an initial release of like December last year, a whole year delay.
I just feel like we would have heard rumors about the English voice cast by now if it was on track for September. So I don't see that. I feel like it's a November, December kind of thing. But I'm
Especially with
fairly...
September competing with Final Fantasy 15. Yeah.
Yep. So but I do think we'll see it at Sony show because it's exclusive to PS4 and PS3. So we'll probably see, hopefully, an English trailer. That would inspire a lot of confidence if I knew they had the localization wrapped up.
It's strange that it's already weird to think about PS3 still being supported already.
Yeah, isn't
Like,
that?
like I don't,
Especially-
like it makes sense that it is, but it just like it seems like at this point my mind is completely shifted to PS4.
Oh, absolutely. Me too. Yeah, it bums me out a little bit because I don't think PS4 is selling so well. I don't think Atlas, in terms of sales and needing to make a big splash, needed to put it on PS3. And the fact of the matter is, the very notion that it is on both means that the PS4 version while it looks amazing from what we've seen, is not going to be as technically sophisticated as it otherwise could have been.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that bums me out a little
I think
bit.
the PS3 decision is likely to, more so because of the Japanese market. Because
Oh,
I
that's
know
fair.
the
Yeah.
PS4 hasn't picked up as well as it has out here in the West.
Mm.
But I think a tail end release, Kyle, isn't out. This year isn't out of the question. Because this fall/winter doesn't seem as jam packed as some previous years, especially compared to say last year. So there's room there.
Yeah, for sure.
For a game.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, there's big titles that we know about that are right around the corner, but like Mass Effect is early next year.
Mhm.
I don't know if they've nailed down a date for Mirror's Edge, but that could be pushed to early 2017. So I don't know why I jumped to EA's titles there, but like, yeah, in terms of Sony stuff, like there isn't really a big holiday blockbuster unless Horizon stays within this year. And Last Guardian, I suppose, is supposedly going to, barring Ernest's prediction of a delay.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see Persona 5 in some respects. And then my fourth prediction is that in a push to position itself as being a little better technologically sophisticated, Sony will introduce peripherals for PSVR, including advanced hand controls similar to the HTC Vive hand things. I just think that removing PS Move from the equation, I mean, they might still call it PS Move. In fact, they probably would because they own the name. But like, let's introduce a new version of PS Move that actually has like more, it like grips your hand similar to Vive's controls and has thumbsticks and stuff in strategic locations, and just like something to launch alongside of it to try to capture some of the attention that Vive is drawing, just because it is so sophisticated. You've got the rim sensors and stuff. I think even though Sony's well positioned with VR, I think it's probably going to introduce some hand controls.
That would make sense, just because that's the point I didn't even think about, was the having analog sticks built into the controllers, because right now you have to have the one that's motion and the one that isn't, that has the thumbstick on it.
And you would want one for each hand.
Yeah.
It's just such a like their current business model is where you have to buy the VR, and then that's its own thing, and then PS4, do you have it or not? And then PS Camera, do you have it or not? PS Move, do you have it or not? It's such a Frankenstein thing going on right now. So I just think like, and it's tough because they've already had the launch bundles go up on Amazon and stuff, but it's like, I do think they need to come out with something that just feels a little more unified, like not like this Move tech from 6, 7, 8 years ago. Here's some brand new hand controls for 2017.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of room for improvement, and I'd like to see either some sort of analog stick or circular touchpad on those controllers. Just
that would be pretty.
More input, so developers have more decisions and options for designing the game. It feels really limited. Yeah,
the current Move sticks actually are really well made, but they are limited in like movement specifically, like having the combined analog and being able to navigate with them at the same time. Yeah. Otherwise, they're better than the Wii controllers for sure. Like, they're still great. They just didn't have a great introduction.
There's some suspension of disbelief required too when the games that show your arms and hands in game, and then in the real world you're holding the PS Move kind of upright, and it's like I just feel like a sort of modified glove or gripping apparatus like what Vive uses, it just bridges the gap in your mind between the way your hands and arms are behaving in the game than what you're actually doing, because it's like you're not physically holding these kind of small cylinders in the game, and so let's just have a little more freedom of like finger and thumb movement, I guess is what I'm saying. Something that feels a little more congruous with what's happening in the game.
Yeah, that'd be awesome in the future to have just gloves that you put on that mimic everything your hands do, and then just maybe wear like anklets or something, so it like tracks your foot movement and where you're going.
Oh, I never thought about anklets, like wireless things. That makes a lot of sense, though.
I think that'd be really awesome.
I don't think we'll see anklets at this
E3. Not at all. That'd be way down the line.
That'd be crazy.
But I think
what I've seen, and I think eventually a lot of VR will take control of. I can't remember like the specific name of it, but it's kind of like a wristband or armband that you put on, and then it's able to sort of feel which your muscles move, and then so it's able to tell like which fingers you're moving and stuff like that.
Wow.
That
Yeah,
is so advanced to think about. I imagine that would be a little finicky though. Like if you would maybe have
I'm
to
sure.
calibrate it periodically because the muscle movement is so nuanced to be able to tell that it must be like in the exact right place in order to read
Right,
that
I'm sure
properly.
each individual user would have to calibrate it just to get the best experience.
Yeah,
Okay.
which they have to do, I think, anyway. But
Mhm.
yeah. So those are my four, and then my. I think I changed my wacky one. Oh, because when Adam gave his Red Dead, I removed um, Wipeout VR, or was that Ernest who gave the Red Dead prediction? I removed.
You were dead. Yeah.
Okay, so my Wipeout was actually my wacky one, but now it kind of makes sense. So I put that up, and instead I'm saying that we will see a teaser concept of some kind for Hideo Kojima's new game, whether that's a single piece of art or something like what EA did with Mass Effect 2 years ago, where it's like a brief little video inside the studio where you can see some computer screens. Just like a Hideo Kojima status update is what I predict happening. I don't think he'll be on stage. I don't think we'll actually see gameplay footage at all. But
Yeah.
just here's what it looks like inside their office. Here's a brief little glimpse at somebody's screen and like a character model. Like that's what I think we'll see.
Yeah, just a studio
Yeah, 'cause
tour
it's-
with a bunch of trolley like images on this different displays that people are working at their desk, just to have the internet just go wild, make all
Yeah.
these random predictions.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I don't think they have a lot done because I heard something that he's doing all these all these world travels to try and find the engine that he wants to use.
He's such an
just
expensive person. He's just so like
He's just a vagabond touring the world for the things that he wants.
Because when
What
Sony
engine?
announced that they were working with him,
engine is it?
they went on a world tour of all of Sony's first-party studios, and now he's
And
doing
he's
like
still- he's
another
still,
world
like-
tour where he's like
Yeah.
seeing just random engines. It's
You
just
should
like
just print off
have, like,
T-shirts.
dice
You should
and,
do the
you know,
sit
Kojima
at a
World
damn
Tour.
desk and do some work. Like,
Oh God, crazy! I think that would be really cool, though. That would be. I mean, I would be super happy to see something like that, just to know what's going on. But
yeah, it would
What if it was just a montage video of his travels?
with no gameplay at all.
Sizzle reel. of just
selfies of
Hideo
him
Kojima.
eating at different restaurants around the world.
Spending Sony's production money on R&D. Yeah, it would just inspire confidence for me, and I obviously don't think we'll see this game or play this game until another 2-3 years probably, but it's just something to slide into the middle of the presentation to kind of remind people that Sony has that exclusivity.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at. Those are my predictions.
All right, I'll go through mine. I think what am I at? 1, 2, 3, 4. Technically, I guess I'm at 5, or technically 6. But I mean, 1 is just one that we'll talk about in general, I think. Okay, I'll start with, since we talked about Well, I'll do PSVR since we know that's going to be going on a lot about this year. I think, giving a time mark, I think PSVR will be talked about for at least 15 to 20 minutes on stage, like a focus. I think that's a pretty safe bet, since that's going to be their big push coming up.
Not only
later
is
this
that
year.
safe, I mean, if
I was
that
going to say
my-
20 minutes as a base before, but
yeah, I have a feeling because like their conference is typically pushes 2 hours.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
could
know.
even
It could be
yeah.
it could be considerably more than that, but definitely I
be.
think that's a safe prediction.
Yeah, I'll go to 20 for that then. And then going off of for the whole debate for PS4K being said there or not, I think PS4K will be announced formally, and it will be also announced that there will be a Horizon Zero Dawn bundle when it launches.
Oh,
Mm. Oh,
And then they'll
Yeah,
have
that's pretty good.
so, and then I think they're going to have one of the things that they're going to do. Why I think that they actually will say it, even though there's rumors of it coming out later on, is that since there is such going to be, I mean, I think it could be safe to say that the PSVR is going to be talked about for at least 30 minutes, probably. But if they have PS4K out there and just basically showing the promise of what this system can do, since there is some negativity on there, and if they bundle it with a tech demo as strong as Horizon, to be able to just show off what it would look like on the giant screen, which would be the perfect environment for people at the show.
yeah.
To have a screen of that size and resolution to actually show how good it's going to look.
Oh, especially if they up the resolution. You're right. Like run it at like
Yeah, if they do the
I don't
4K,
know, have a demo at 4K or something.
Yeah. So if they do the 4K to actually show what it looks like, and then I don't know if they're actually going to show a VR demo with it, but then they can do VR demos off of the 4K on stage too.
Here's
be able to show
what I
what
think.
it'll look like.
Real quick, an interesting observation about your prediction that I have. It's like my feeling is that Sony wouldn't have done this because of the negativity, especially with people kind of worried that Horizon will be delayed because of this console and not being happy about that. But what you're kind of suggesting is sort of that let's make it more palatable by like packing in Horizon with the console so that it's almost a value proposition. Like you could sell the console for $399 and it includes Horizon, this brand new game. So you're almost kind of like trying to jump ahead of the negativity by saying, yeah, maybe it was delayed or whatever, but hey, you can get them together, and this is like our flagship for the new system.
And I wouldn't be totally surprised if the 4K came out before the end of the year. Like a lot of places are kind of suggesting that to be a possibility, but I think it's more likely it'll be early next year. But I think it would make sense either way. Next thing, I'm trying to decide which one I want to count as my wacky thing. This is just kind of a passive one. PS Vita will not be mentioned at all, apart from maybe like in a trailer, like have it like also on PS Vita or something like that. I think
when they do like the indie rolling trailer.
That's all it's gonna be. It's not gonna be mentioned at all, because they're gonna wait till the end of the show and announce the PlayStation Vita 2 for their hardware.
Oh God!
Oh Jesus!
No! I know that's not. It's just not gonna happen. They're gonna completely ignore PS Vita in the show, I think, entirely, and focus on their golden tech, which is going to be PSVR, and then also pushing that with the PS4K. So I think that's where I think it's going to go.
I'll let you. I have a wacky extension of that, but I'll let you continue with your stuff.
So I'm surprised nobody else mentioned this. Well, I guess it's going to be shown at both places. It's going to be shown at the Square one too, but Final Fantasy VII is going to get extended gameplay off of what they're going to do. So we're going to actually see it really in action, because we did see a kind of a small view of it before,
because it's episodic,
we'll see the battle system, I think, unveiled, or part of it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because it's episodic, do you think we'll learn even more about it, like a rough release window, or maybe
the first one? I think the first one we could. I think their initial target was next year, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably
for episode 1.
Yeah,
I think
that sounds right.
I think that would make sense to give more of either like a quarter for the year. I don't think they'll give like a month yet. That's way too early. But I think they'll say like early or late or holiday, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, probably.
So
Sure.
I think they'll partner that up. Technically I got 2 left, but I don't want to push that. I'll do the next one. I think is going to happen. There's going to be a trailer that appears. We're not going to know what it is. It's going to be some kind of like running animation that'll come up, and they'll be running through city and all this stuff, and then at the end it'll show some or not gameplay, but it'll show like it's nice cinematic, and at the end we'll see Cyberpunk 2077. Because of how well received The Witcher has been, and I think their relationship with PlayStation is probably I don't know if it'd be the strongest, but it's definitely up there. So I mean, I would think it would make sense for it to be at Sony's show for CD Projekt Red's game.
Do you think it's time for that, or it's like?
Well, that's why I said they'd be cinematic. I don't think there'll be gameplay at all. It'll be because they
of
released that
course,
initial
yeah.
trailer. Was it last year or 2 years ago? Was it late 2015?
I think it was
Or not
late 2014.
Late
It's
14,
been a while.
that's what I mean.
feel like.
Late 2014. So I think, and we just saw that little thing, but I think we'll actually see like what their vision of this game is going to be in like another cinematic, and it'll be just like a name drop at the end after we've seen what's happened. So
It's tight. It's tight for me. I feel like it might be too soon because the
Yeah.
last Witcher expansion is coming out next week, and so they'll
Right.
want. But it's
soon, but
plus it's also I'm 50-50 on whether it would be Sony or Microsoft, because I think the relationship with Sony has improved with The Witcher 3, especially since the PC version has like native DualShock support where all the button prompts are DualShock prompts. So that's always like a nice little addition to see. But yeah, I think it could really go either way.
I guess the other one, I'm pushing it here, but this is one that we can all talk about, is we didn't say Sucker Punch's new game is going to be announced for sure.
Oh, the Spider-Man game.
The Spider-Man game.
Oh, that's a big heavy rumor.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like It's
I
just so
want that
strange. I mean, yeah, I think it could be good. I really liked there was an old PS2 Spider-Man game that I actually really liked, but to actually see a studio like Sucker Punch create a real superhero game, or like, well, they have made real superhero games, but like a real like Marvel
What are you trying to
superhero
say,
game.
Will?
No, I love
Yeah.
I love Infamous. Get that out of the way. I love the Infamous games, but like a comic hero.
Is there a hero that you would? I mean, I would imagine Spider-Man wouldn't be your first choice. So, is there a property you would rather than take on?
Oh, I don't know. Not really, I guess. I mean,
Spider-Man.
they would be able to do that really well with the
Yeah, conducive to
verticality
their
of
talents,
the.
I think Spider-Man's probably their best
It would
bet.
make sense just given how good they are at building vertical landscapes and interacting across like the jump points in buildings and all that kind of stuff. I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, obviously, like Batman is my favorite, but Batman's already got some awesome games out by another studio, so I don't like Rocksteady nailed it. So it doesn't make any,
Yeah.
especially now, it doesn't make any sense to do another one of that. There still hasn't been a great Superman game, but most people don't want that or are interested in that. A new Spider-Man game would be great, and it would make sense to be if it was going to be a superhero game, it would make sense as a property because of the how Captain America did with Civil War and how well received Spider-Man in that was by the public. So
And Sony owns the game rights to the character as well. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's
So
if
it
if,
would
if
just
Sucker
make
Punch is
sense.
making anyone, yeah. I didn't have that as a prediction because it's too much wishful thinking. Like I don't want to predict it because then it won't come true.
I mean, I don't
But
want
really
the
badly.
like I don't know. I'm not really happy. I'd rather them do their own thing. I don't want them to do an already existing property. So, I mean, I'd rather just have them do like a completely different type of game from what they've been doing. To following like the same track record as Naughty Dog has with doing like Jack and Daxter, like, and then Uncharted, and then The Last of Us type of thing. So I would love for them to do like take a complete left turn and try something else. But
As long as it played to their strengths, I would have. I still want it to be like an open world.
right, yeah,
you know.
do something that they want to do and they think they can do, not be like. That's the thing that I'd be worried about is that they were kind of told that they should they really should do this because we want them to do it, or like that from Sony's perspective,
Mhm.
So
Mm.
anyway, those are mine.
So my what I wanted to add to I lost my train of thought now. I had a whack.
PS5 4.5, or was it?
Oh yeah, I thought because you mentioned Vita, and I was kind of
Oh,
sitting
Vita.
here curious as we were going through our predictions, like because like I'm of the mind that they won't even mention Vita, like the same as you,
Yeah.
because it's just a foregone conclusion at this point that system has been
Dead.
completely abandoned. But do you guys think that because 4K is powerful, and because I think Sony has a bit of an uphill battle with proving its worth, or just like battling some negative sentiment, could this be a system that actually changes the way PS4 functions? Like maybe it comes with a remote play sort of device a la Wii U. Maybe something that doesn't function as a standalone console, but like you can have these improved games with you portably.
I mean,
It's
I think
expensive.
Vita's still going to be able to support it.
Yeah, I think that will be true too. Yeah, maybe
I
it's
think
not
the hardware is going to be
still.
like essentially the same, like the operating system is going to be like the exact same thing. So I don't think the communication is going to be a problem.
Mm.
So
Well, it was
it'll
my-
just still downscale it to whatever the Vita can handle. So
I've just never, man, remote play has always sucked on my
I don't-
Vita for some
I've
reason.
never even bothered to try it.
It runs like complete dog shit no matter where I am. I could be in the same damn room connecting directly to the PS4 without going over a router, or I could be in another city and it's just the same sort of shitty experience. Which bothers me a lot because the promise of that connection always, like, I was so behind that when they were talking about it.
I saw somebody tweet something out about that, basically saying like they were playing some game on their Vita on the other side of the country and saying how great the future is or something. But it was like, I guess it was working well, but I've never heard anybody really say that it worked well.
What were you going to say, Ernest? I heard you chime in there.
Oh yeah, it's kind of worked for me, but I can't get over the latency.
Yeah, the latency is a problem, and then the
Yeah.
artifacting. Like I remember using it when I first got my PS4. I was playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and it would work dependably for like 4 minutes, and then just go completely to shit. Like there'd be blocky pixels all over the screen, a lot of artifacting, and then it would just cut out, like almost in sync with itself. It's like it was just losing its mind every 5 minutes. And now it's like, even, and seriously, like within the realm of 10, 15 feet from the console, I can't even get a stable picture on it sometimes if I have like a wall between us, or like, yeah, I don't know, it's just never lived up to the promise for me. And I've got, pretty good internet, all things considered, and a decent router. It doesn't make any sense why it wouldn't be able to have a stable experience.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Do we have any other passing things that we think are going to be showing up at the Sony show or E3 in general?
Well, Dead Don't Ride. I think finally Sony Bend's game will be formally revealed. Then again, said that every single conference of the past 3 years, but I think it has to. Jeez.
Catch me up a little bit, Adam. The Dead Don't Ride, was that a patent? Is that where people got that name from? Or a trademark, rather?
That, yeah, and I think Shinobi, that insider, tweeted the name, and then somebody else also tweeted the name. Or like had like a tagline, but like the starting letters of each sentence was like, Dead Don't Ride, so something like that. But
I feel like we've seen a logo for it too, right? Like I think I've seen like the 3 words kind of stacked on top of each other in like a stylistic way. Maybe not.
Possibly, yeah. I don't know. I don't think I've seen that, but yeah, that's got to be revealed at this stage. I think it's only so long they can be hush about it.
If that's a Western game, because I think the title kind of, maybe not. I always got kind of a Western vibe from Dead Don't Ride, but I wonder if because of that, Sony might make the decision to not have Red Dead 2 at their conference. Not that that's Sony's decision anyway, that's a Rockstar thing, but like that's a lot of Wild West if the two are thematic.
The only thing, though, if Take-Two or like Rockstar come to Sony and say, we want to show this, you're not going to say no.
Oh, no, then they'll push, Sony Ben, we'll see you later, we'll see you next week.
That's what I talked to.
Harris Game Show, over there.
Exactly.
Kyle and I were talking about Sony Bendel earlier today, too, and I was basically, my concern is that, well, obviously, like we just said, it's not going to take precedence over any of the other kind of big things that would potentially happen. But
certainly none of the first parties either,
right,
let alone Take-Two Rockstar.
Because the thing is, I think right now, especially after the order, there's a fear of like Vita developers trying to be console developers, or not trying, but going for like AAA titles on console and then not reaching that. Obviously, we only have one studio as an example of that reaction, but that's enough to affect the entire gaming community.
I do think that the Sony Bend hype is a little overblown, like kind of in thinking with you, because when you really get down to brass tacks, I mean, the last game they did was Golden Abyss,
and it wasn't that impressive.
No, really, it wasn't, and because it was not an inventive or really exciting Uncharted game. It was very by the numbers.
It was gimmicky
and then
for the Vita too.
And they just copy. I mean, literally, they copy gameplay, aiming, pacing, level design from an existing property. Like none of that really required creativity on their part beyond writing the new story and things like that. But it's like you could argue that 40% of that game's concept and mechanics was already done for them.
Yeah. So, same with the Resistance game they did, I guess.
Well, yeah, was that a Resistance?
Fallen Skies?
Retribution.
Retribution was on PSP.
The over-the-shoulder one.
Yeah, they did the PSP one.
Oh, wow. That one I enjoyed it, but I didn't finish that one either. But it wasn't like at the same time. Again, it wasn't. That was the downfall of all of the games that got ditched that were on the mobile platforms that were ditched to other studios. Was that they always just felt like imitations. Same with like the Ratchet and Clank games and stuff and all that.
Like the Clank game on PSP.
Yeah.
Well, with Resistance, at least they had their own unique control scheme and like it was a third-person cover shooter, which is different than Resistance.
Set it apart.
Yeah, if anything, Resistance Retribution is a better proof of concept for them as a developer than Golden Abyss, because Golden Abyss is just literally Uncharted 2 with a different story and worse.
It's definitely a better proof of concept than Bubsy 3D, which was, I think, their first game. And that was bad.
Yeah, we cannot.
I think actually people consider that one of the worst. Oh, I tell you, anything with the mascot platformers from the 90s, I can't be beaten.
Yeah, that's
but
human.
Yeah, I think that's like literally Bubsy was 3D is literally like one of the worst games ever. Like it's known as one of the worst games ever made.
Oh yeah.
Way to instill
Yeah.
confidence.
Yeah,
But yeah, so they have that, and then they've got Siphon Filter and Resistance and Uncharted. So I do agree with Kyle that the anticipation for their new title, especially one where like it's their kind of maiden, fully fledged like PS4 title. I know they've done PS2 games and stuff, but yeah, I think the hype probably is a little overblown, and I think there's a lot more questions still to be asked
I
about
think they should
just how good this could be.
Agreed. Sony should just give them the exact amount of attention that they have earned, which is to say, a spot in a decent place in the conference, outside of the indie block, obviously, but not befitting of like a show closer or a show opener, because they're just not that studio. And besides these really hardcore PlayStation faithful, nobody knows their name. There really isn't a pedigree there. So it's like give them the spot that is befitting of them. Don't overhype it in the way that you overhyped The Order for 2 years before that came out. And then and this is obviously whatever point they're at in the game, it's too late to say this, but like I hope that their game is something with a very specific ambition and a somewhat narrow focus, not this grandiose open world like AAA game like a Horizon, because I just don't that like the proof is not there that Bend is really capable of developing that
the
game.
Support of the team compared to places like Guerrilla.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah, so I don't know. Those are all my hopes for Ben's game, but in terms of Sony's success at E3, like let's not make it something that it isn't. Is what I'm hoping.
Agreed.
I was thinking Bloodborne 2. You guys think we'll see that?
There is heavy rumors that From Software.
Adam just got excited.
I was just thinking, 'cause I was thinking about it yesterday, because I hear Bloodborne is still like there with Uncharted as my favorite PS4 game, and then MGS is of course hovering in a distant second. But anyway, I did hear that they're going to. I think they're having an off-site event or conference or something. From Software is, and they're going to. They're rumored to announce like 2 new games. So
yeah, so it's what it is their publisher or owner, which is Kadokawa Games, is hosting a press conference, an E3 press conference, but it's going to be over in Tokyo.
Oh, okay. So definitely outside.
Yes, very
That
much.
strikes
on the
me
other
as
side of the world.
well. That strikes me as a little odd because I feel like you maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I actually don't really know, but did Bloodborne have was its debut at like an English speaking conference? Like, is that where we first heard about it? I think it was E3, like 2 years
because
ago.
you got to see it. You went to see it
Yeah.
behind closed doors. That was before it was called Bloodborne officially. And then when you came out of that showing, you were like, "Dude, it's called Bloodborne." You like told me that. that was
Dude,
2014.
It's called.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was like
Yo,
okay,
dude.
but that was like its private thing with. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember where it had like its big public outing because like
Yeah, it was
I'm
that
trying to
E3.
remember.
It was E3 2014.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting to hear that because like I don't know.
Well, the
Then it makes
official
me
naming
wonder-
of it, we saw stuff like the trailers and things
Right.
before it was actually called Bloodborne. Before then.
So that makes me wonder whether it's going to appear at like this Kadokawa, as Ernest mentioned. Like, will it have a debut in a Japanese presentation, Japanese time zone, or will it be something that Sony wants for its Western thing? I mean, I feel like the conference we're already talking about it's more packed to the gills than I thought it would be. Like coming into my predictions and thinking about E3, I'm like, oh man, this doesn't feel like a strong year in terms of we're gonna see Uncharted or we're gonna see The Last of Us. But like that's a very Naughty Dog focus. When we actually sit down and like run through these predictions, I'm like, there's a shitload of things that could happen.
Right.
And, like some really interesting games that I want to see.
We always keep saying about how we're not going to be wowed like we did last year, but there's still a strong lineup coming
Yeah.
through here. So
Yeah, there was. I remember that I never thought the conference where Sony announced the price of PS4 would ever be beat because of that energy, but last year's was just fantastic.
right.
So yeah, I mean anything could happen, but I do feel like we're probably due to start seeing whatever From Software is working on, which is probably Bloodborne 2.
What do you think we'll see for Mass Effect? Are we going to see like actual gameplay and stuff this year? Not necessarily at Sony's show, but just as a show and as a
Right.
whole.
I think if it does show up at anybody's show, it's going to be Microsoft, just because of the EA.
Hmm.
EA
Wouldn't
Microsoft.
EA use that opportunity though to show it at their private event? Because it's not really a press conference in the sense that media have invites and stuff. It's more of like a fan event. But
Yeah, that's
I
right.
guess it's really unprecedented. Like we don't know what the context of that's going to be. Like, are they going to show anything, or is it just going to be a?
I mean, they're
I'm
gonna.
sure- I
I
don't
think
know.
they'll show stuff there, and they'll just stream it. I think that's what they'll do. So that they'll probably show it at their own closed thing. But do you think
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I can also
gameplay,
showing up also at the Microsoft Xbox conference.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
sure.
addition.
And then they'll be because
Yeah.
they'll show it, and they might show some other games and say, and you can play this first with EA Access, which is on Xbox One.
Yeah, very true, very true. There's that element. Can you imagine like getting to play Mass Effect like 2 weeks before the rest of the? Like that'll I like that will actually like if somebody doesn't own either system, that will sell Xboxes. Just having an extra couple weeks to play Mass Effect, and it's like if you're gonna get a system.
Some people, yeah, definitely, yeah.
But there is a precedent for showing games twice at different shows, so you're definitely right about that. We could see different segments of it at EA's thing and then Microsoft's thing. For gameplay, yeah, I think it's time. Like if they're still on track, and granted they did just delay the game, although I don't think anyone ever thought it was going to be out this year. They delayed it to early 2017, so we would see it maybe at the latest April or early May. I think we're close enough to that where we could start seeing gameplay. But I also think it would behoove EA to hold those cards close to their chest, because this is a series. More than any other series, I don't need to see anything about this game to know that I want to play it. Like it's BioWare.
Yeah,
I
as
know
long as they keep this model from the old ones alive, that's pretty much golden.
Yeah, like the gameplay was never. Like the gameplay could be notably worse than it was in 2 or 3, and I would still be getting the game just because it's this Mass Effect story. And like that's the main draw for me. It's like you could take a step back in gameplay, and if I didn't know that until I bought the game and played it, I'd be like, oh, whatever, that stinks. But I'm still very much in this, you know.
Yeah, I think we would get like a teaser to what the story setup is going to be, and then like it'll be something. They'll show like part of it, and then there might be like a trailer, and then it'll transition into like a 30 seconds of gameplay or something like that.
Or maybe have one of the other, like the story set up at EA's thing, and then Microsoft gets like a 10-minute gameplay trailer.
Actually, speaking of EA, here's one of left to field as well. They bring out a new Skate.
Oh, really?
I think we're due for a Skate. People
really want Skate, man.
Dude, people love Skate 3 because of just people streaming it. There's been still a lot of people wanting that game and to play it.
Did sales of that game start to trail off toward the third game? Because I feel like it came out, like the first one I remember came out to really strong reception, and I enjoyed playing that one, but then I sort of lost track of the series.
Yeah, I think it had trailed off a little bit, but the streaming kind of community around that like I think PewDiePie nearly single-handedly brought it back into like the top 20 charts in certain countries, like 2 years after it came out.
Yeah.
So, and if you look at any EA post or any EA Sports post on Facebook, like the comment section, they're just inundated with, bring Skate, and I think they have like nodded to it once or twice in the past like 6 or so months, so it's not beyond the realm of possibility. So hopefully,
and it doesn't have tough competition because we all know how Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 turned out.
And I think they're going to announce FIFA 17 as well.
Oh, for sure. Well, that makes sense. They always do little Madden gameplay and FIFA gameplay and UFC gameplay. Like it's all the givens.
No, actually, they're not going to announce it. It's gone. It's done. It's probably going
no more FIFA. Well, EA, now that I really dwell on them, they always are kind of this come from behind, exciting publisher for me at E3. Because now I'm thinking there's a lot of Star Wars stuff cooking behind the scenes there that we haven't seen yet.
Amy Hennig's game.
Yeah, Amy Hennig and Visceral on one. We know that BioWare is working on one. And
Respawn. Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about
working
that.
on one. Yeah.
Oh wait, Respawn's working on a different one from all of the above? Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that was announced on May 4th. Big announcement was Respawn Entertainment, Titanfall.
Wow, EA has really set themselves up for success here because you've got 3 like really, really quality studios working on Star Wars games, and you're giving them all the time in the world to make them, because you could release 1 game per year starting this holiday season, and like, Visceral has probably been working on their game for 2.5 years already. BioWare has been busy with Mass Effect, but if their game comes out 2017 or 2018, it's like you've got Star Wars games coming out left and right, but because there are different world-class studios working on all of them. They're all getting like the time and energy that they deserve. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see one of those this year? Maybe Viscerals?
We'll see another Star Wars for sure because Battlefront
Yeah, probably
has
a
been out.
teaser, I imagine, of the
Yeah.
Visceral one. It seems like that's been in the burner for quite a while now. Even though I don't think it's anywhere near release. I think it is time for probably a cinematic teaser or something.
Yeah, I would
I
think
wonder if
holiday next year
Whistle
there'll
Subs-
be something coming out, but
Well, I wonder if Battlefront 2 is going to try to be timed with Episode 8 next year.
Probably.
yeah, it could be. They'll probably have something coming out for Rogue One this year. I don't think it'll be one from maybe one of those studios, but they'll have some Star Wars game to package along with all the advertising.
Maybe like a Battlefront expansion with like some single player elements.
Or
That
like
would be really cool.
Starfighters.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, like a Star Wars Rogue fighter
Yeah.
reimagining.
Jar Jar
or-
Binks
or
Fishing
something.
Simulator.
Oh my god.
Yes, that.
You suck on a fish.
Good God,
Oh,
you can
man.
imagine.
That would be the
Yeah,
best
yeah,
April
it's-
Fool's prank ever.
Free to play Jar Jar Binks fishing game.
with microtransactions.
Microtransactions for the different
Jar Jar
bait.
skins. Like,
Oh,
if they had a microtransaction that was a skin where you could replace Jar Jar Binks with a real fucking character and not a complete dumpster fire, maybe people would actually buy that game. You know, like, oh, I could get a Star Wars fishing simulator with a character that isn't Jar Jar Binks
yeah.
for only $10.
Oh my god. I'm trying to think of the other games that were coming to mind before. I'm trying to remember now. I'm trying to think of
Well-
what some of the big ones from last year were too that we don't know much. Well, No Man's Sky, when is that coming out?
June something.
17th?
17th.
No, that
so that,
sound right.
that would be right after, if it was, it'd be right after the show.
Yeah, that would be the Friday, which I guess it could be, but no, it's definitely June. It's got a date nailed down.
So do you think Sony's gonna? They'll probably will spend some time just making sure everybody knows that their game is finally coming out.
Probably June 21st. I wonder if they'll say something about VR support down the line for No Man's Sky, like say, hey,
That would be the only substantial thing that they could add to it at this point.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they've really spent, in my opinion, too much time showing that game in the past.
Yeah, they shouldn't have announced it really.
Showing a whole load of nothing.
They've
last
spent so
year.
much time on it that it's convinced me that I don't know if I'm actually going to buy and play it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
if they had
I'm
left
not
it
interested in it
this
at
year-
all anymore.
Mhm.
Like I've got other things that I'm excited for that I'll spend money on.
We'll see. I don't know. I think it's going to be divisive, like critically with review scores and
I think
stuff.
it would be perfect for VR, so that would make a lot of sense if they did it, and then that would really be like their lead title for VR, at least at the start. So I don't know.
I was thinking Ni no Kuni. We might see that in some
Oh, that's
form.
right. The second one was announced last year. That's another
Yeah.
game I
Yeah.
totally forgot.
Yeah. Over at PSX.
So I wonder what because like when they showed that, it was a pretty meaty like 3-4 minute story trailer. So that makes me think the game is considerably further along than people would have thought it would be when it was before it was announced.
Yeah.
So it depends. We could see a release window like a early 2017 exclusive to
I think
PS4
window
or something like that.
would be a safe bet.
Yeah, maybe not a date because it's just a smidge too early for that. But yeah, I'm trying to think what other kind of Japanese slanted stuff might be in the cooker besides Persona and Final Fantasy that we talked about. I was thinking Kingdom Hearts, but I feel like it's a little bit of oversaturation for that game because Square really seems to be taking their time, their good sweet time working on it.
Yeah.
And they've just they're gearing up so heavily with Final Fantasy 15, and then which is I don't think we'll see anything substantial for 15 coming out of Sony's show, if only because Square seems to be taking that within its own control these days,
Right.
like with that.
They might
covered
show a
event.
little
Yeah.
bit. I think they'll probably show another trailer, so like a new trailer at Sony show, but then they'll actually show something more in depth during their.
I'll say this: if they show another trailer at Sony show, or if they kind of say, "Hey, we've added these features and we've entered the QA polish stage," or just kind of give us a status update, at that point, I'm ready to just step away and not hear anything more about that until the game comes out. Like I have my reservations about the technical performance and things like that, but those are things that I'll be able to find out in like reviews and stuff whether it's fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at this point, I'm pretty much sold on the game. They don't need to show me anything more.
What does Ubisoft have coming? I was just trying to think.
Watch Dogs 2.
No,
Oh yeah, for sure. We didn't talk about Ubisoft's conference at all.
No, not at
Watch Dogs
all.
2.
well, because they had.
It's just a load of dance games and
Aisha
stuff.
Tyler.
Drake's gonna play.
Everything they talked about last year is already out. I'm pretty sure. So, I mean,
Yeah,
because it was Assassin's Creed
Well,
that came out
did
shortly
they do
after.
For Honor?
And then For Honor.
Um,
I don't know. Because another thing last year was Rainbow Six Siege. That already came out. Like those are the two big ones at their booth. Apart from Far Cry, they didn't talk about it all because that was after.
Yeah, they'll definitely show For Honor. Actually, yeah, it is a Ubisoft game, so
yeah,
they
there's
obviously announced it last E3, so
that makes sense.
Gotta give
There's
some
no
time
leaks
for that.
info or anything from what I'm seeing. We just don't know when it's coming out, so that's one way. They'll probably show the Assassin's Creed movie in some respect.
Oh, that's right. Forgot about that.
But I do
it has
like
pre-order bonuses.
Yeah, they'll probably dive into that in more detail. That sick, nasty, pre-order culture. But I don't think we'll see.
Do you think we'll see trailer for the Uncharted movie?
No.
I hope not.
Don't
sour. I'm so
Development
high up
hell,
on Uncharted.
Oh, actually, they have. I think they'll probably only announce about one game because they still have a couple of games to show. They've got obviously Watch Dogs, they've got For Honor, they've got the South Park sequel, and they've got
that's right.
Tom
Yeah,
Cruise.
Kraken or what is that? What is that
Fractured
title?
Butthole.
The fractured butthole. Yeah.
And then they've got the new Ghost Recon as well. That was announced last year.
I'd be interested to see how that turns out.
Wildlands.
Do you think they'll touch on Division things at all? I feel like that was just a
Division
complete shift up.
expansion, maybe.
Yeah, they'll probably drive that pretty quick, or pretty hard, I imagine, since it's kind of waning.
Yeah, they're in a stage now where they're like total backpedal apology mode for that game's cheating.
I
and
totally
stuff.
forgot about the Division. I think most of the internet has too.
Well, I think people are leaving the game in droves because it was really popular for the first couple weeks, and then people found out like this is not a buggy mess, but it's very, from what I understand, cheating is rampant in that game because there's a lot of exploits that Ubisoft hasn't tightened up yet, which totally ruins like the ecosystem and like the PvP endgame with the Dark Zone or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Their show's a big mystery for me. I can't really.
What do you think Insomniac's working on?
There's a couple titles I think we know about. Like, there's a VR title they're working on, Edge of Nowhere. We can see that at Sony's show.
Yeah.
That's a VR launch title.
That'd be really cool.
They're also doing that small game that's going to be published by GameStop.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Published by
I can't-
GameStop. I don't even remember hearing about that.
Yeah, GameStop have a game. What's it called? It's called Game something. They're publishing a couple of games. They're publishing Sony Santa Monica's one of their games, publishing the Insomniac game, and I can't remember what else. A couple of games.
Huh.
Game Trust, I think it's called.
That sounds right. I can't remember either, but that rings a bell.
All right. Well, we're running about. Well, we got an hour, a little over an hour to talk on here. I think that's.
I have
Pretty
a
good.
prediction for E3 2017. If you're ready for this,
Ooh, okay.
Hit me.
2 words: Quake reboot.
Yes.
Apparently they're in a hiring spree now. And you had Wolfenstein doing really well. Doom's doing pretty well. Quake is next.
I heard the
Chalk
hard.
it down.
I heard the hard C at the beginning of your sentence, or the hard K, and I'm like, oh god, he's gonna say croc. 2 words.
Gex.
Croc 4.
Yes.
All right.
Boy can hope.
Crash Bandicoot.
Mm.
Well, they're still
Any
in
strong feelings on that little property?
Well, Activision
or-
still has it, right?
They do, but that doesn't. that
Sony
isn't to say
Japan,
that-
give it to them. Let them do
yeah,
it.
that isn't to say Sony hasn't made moves on it, and we just don't know. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
What is
just-
the legality of Uncharted? Slight spoilers ahead with the Crash Bandicoot thing. Like, they don't mention Activision in the credits at all.
Well, they still
So-
control their exist. They don't control the current IP. They can or the property. They control the or what they made, like what the studio did.
Yeah, but they still use of the character. I think you'd still have to.
It's we.
I don't know. I
That's,
don't
that's
know.
only representation of the first game. I don't think they have to worry. I mean, clearly they didn't have to worry about it because they put it out
They did
there.
it, yeah.
But I mean
Yeah.
that could,
I
there's-
mean,
there
you
could be
you
some
own what
good-
they own what they made when it was under their control. After that point, they don't have to.
Mm.
So,
I suppose.
but yeah. Anyway, I think that was a good enough for now because we're gonna have a lot more E3 conversations
Oh,
in
you
the
betcha.
coming weeks going forward. I guess if there's gonna be any big news, we'll probably talk about this lows in the podcast leading up. But you're definitely gonna want to stay tuned for our on-site podcast that we'll do when we're there at the show covering the event. We'll do one right after the Sony conference like we did last year, I'm sure.
absolutely
Get some nice
reactions fast.
juicy reactions to what happened there. Hopefully Ernest cries again.
Fingers crossed.
Right.
We might do a couple. You think we'll do maybe some small bonus episodes too, just like little topics here and there?
Yeah, I think
Roundtables, yeah, absolutely.
I think that would be great. Yeah, well, I think we should do that for. We won't do full episodes, but yeah, I think some little specials here and there on maybe some of the big names that get dropped or what's going on. But
Favorite games, stuff like that.
favorite game, yeah, favorite moments of the show.
E3 awards podcast.
When Gex came down from the rafters with his sunglasses on.
favorite day one moment.
Show some of the swag that we can get from there.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
wow.
That'd be awesome. All right.
Okay.
So yeah, this has been episode 29 of PlayStation Fix, our E3 predictions. Stay tuned for more, like we said, on our E3 coverage. We're going to have a ton of stuff coming out this year when we're there at the show. Thanks so much for your predictions, all you guys. We got some good ones. And be sure to follow us. We'll do some more content. You'll find our stuff on not only on our podcast channel, if you're subscribed on SoundCloud and iTunes to PlayStation Fix. You'll find it on the PlayStation YouTube channel, PS YouTube. And we'll have some other videos going up, reaction videos and stuff after games that we see going out on E3 there. Twitch, we'll be streaming on PSU Live moving forward from now on, going there. Kyle and I did some Uncharted 4 multiplayer again on there. It was a lot of fun. So we'll do some more of
You
that.
guys are really
man.
good.
Yeah. Adam, you'll have to jump on to later on when we do that.
Yeah, no, I will.
We did try hoops for a little bit, and that did not go very well.
No, I
I
think
played hoops. It was, yeah.
I think our weekend warrior skills are best kept to Uncharted.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, not so much. It is more weekend flailing and hoops there. But yeah, so make sure to stay tuned to all those channels for our content moving forward, all our E3 stuff going forward. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.
Bye.
See you in LA.